Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Is everyone connected to the?
There we go.
Can you hear
People are trickling in.
me? Hi, guys.
By the way, I'm having my lunch right now, so don't pay too much attention to me being.
Hey, Katie. Are you munching? Hey, Tam.
Hey, everyone.
Hey. Okay, I'm so glad it's working now.
Yeah, no, sorry. It took me
Yeah.
a second. It was my first time like setting up a meeting, and I tried to join it, and then even though I'm the host, it said waiting for the host. So I had to figure it out, but we're here now.
Oh, that's great.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, guys. Thanks for
Hello.
coming.
Yeah.
Ciao, Katie!
Wow.
Senti?
Oh, that's so lovely.
Good.
That's great. So should we get started now then?
Yeah, we don't
Quite
want
fast, so we
to
can
take
get-
too much
yeah.
of your guys' time. It's nice to see you all and meet you all. I'm Alice, by the way. KT,
Yeah.
obviously we're
Katie.
working together. We really appreciate your time for our school project.
Yeah.
Should we
So
start?
how did you find the questions? Are they okay? Put your thumbs up if they're okay. That's good. Awesome. We can get started then.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind having your cameras on, we're gonna do a couple like hands up questions, just like as a speed round. So as the first question, would you raise your hand if you have heard of Duolingo before? 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. And raise your hand if you're multilingual, if you speak more than one language.
Define speak.
Good question. That's actually going to be another question that we're going to ask you.
Yeah.
But if you think you can have a conversation, a casual conversation, it doesn't have to be philosophical, but where you can ask for directions comfortably and order at a restaurant or something and ask how you're doing. So conversation.
Okay. In that case,
Yeah. Okay.
Great. So if you have heard and if you do use Duolingo, do you think it's a good app or what do you think of it?
should we take turns?
Sure.
Yeah. So Tam, do you want to go first?
Okay. So I used Duolingo for about 6 years, so quite a while. And I eventually ended up discovering Memrise, and
Okay.
I would definitely say that Memrise is a lot more useful in teaching you how to use the language in a way that you can actually use it. Whereas Duolingo, I found, gives you a very good understanding of the structure of the language, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can actually use what you learn. It takes a very, very long time to actually get to use what you learn, because they'll teach you to say such strange sentences that you put together that you'll never use in real life.
Yeah.
Like my dog sits next to the sign or something like that. They're never going to teach you how to say, could you please direct me to the station? Do you know what I mean? So my opinion of that is no. I used to be very loyal to Duolingo, and I don't think ill of it, but I think there are better apps.
Okay, great. Does someone else have like a similar or different opinion on Duolingo?
I think that like I've been using Duolingo for about 2 years, and I think it's like a great starting point when you're just like starting a language from scratch, like from nothing. But yeah, I agree that like if you want to know how to, actually use a language, it's good to have some sort of other thing teaching at the same time. I still use it every day. But I'm lucky enough to have like friends who speak Spanish, which is, what I'm learning. Because that they kind of like direct me into a more functional way to speak a language.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Anyone else? Anyone else use Duolingo? Martin, I can't hear you. You're on mute. Martin, you're on mute. No. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. We can move on. So for those of you who are interested in learning a language, what helps you decide to go ahead and make the first step to learn a couple words?
So maybe friends who can fluently speak another language, or when you are traveling and all of your friends, they can the language really good. For example, my boyfriend is from Spain and he can fluently speak Spanish, but I can't speak any words of Spanish. So for me, it's maybe good to learn some words when I'm in Spain. And yeah, so.
Definitely. Yeah. Sorry.
Vanessa? Vanessa, did you want to speak? You're on mute at the moment, but okay. They're just turning off the mute. Okay.
Because Alessandro made comments, so yes, for me too, is learning a language is important because I like very much traveling. So and I like being able to communicate yes, with also, for example, to go to a restaurant, being able to eat something, or also to get to know some people of my age, or also. So it's for my love for traveling. This is why I began to learn a language.
In my opinion, it's also curiosity that pushes someone to learn a new language. Maybe the curiosity, the musicality of the language, so how the words sound. Also movies, TV series may convince us to learn another language. Maybe you hear some characters speak the language, or also the setting in which the movie is set. Yeah, can help you decide to learn something more about the culture of these of the characters in the movie. So
Yeah, definitely.
especially this.
Have anybody else like wanted to learn a language because of a media, like a TV show or a movie or something? That's fine. And so for those of you who have tried to learn a language long term, like more in depth, what's something that keeps you motivated to practice? And this is assuming that it's outside of like a school or academic structure where you kind of are forced to. If you're learning a language long term by yourself, what helps you motivated, like keep motivated?
Well, maybe learning a language, for example, for me, English is very useful for example, I'm studying business administration. So if you are going to work in an international environment, it's beneficial to not only know basic words and basic grammar, but also like business English. So for example, like words as profit, for example, very easy right now, but if it makes sense. And also what's just mentioned is another language. I know a few words that's not like very good, but like I know a few basic words in Croatian because we go on holiday there every year, but I know that I am not doing anything else Croatian. So knowing like 20 words and 10 sentences is already good enough to make myself understood in a restaurant, if it makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. Anyone else?
Also for the communication when you're studying, for example, in England, and you need it for your school or for your lectures, and also for friends to communicate with them in your free time. So it's really helpful when you yeah, can speak it really good. So I'm more motivated to learn it because you want to communicate with your friends.
And what's your block when it comes to learning a language?
So
Can I
for
go?
me, it's
Well,
Sorry.
can you
Maria.
guys hear me now or not?
yeah, we can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
Martin, go
so
for
that's
it.
good. That's good. Well, so for me, the main block is that people won't understand me, especially like when we are like this talking using a video conference. So that's the main block. And like you asked before, what motivates you to learn in a long term? So it's how Mary said, the friends, you want to understand them, especially those who speak like better than you, who speak really good English. You want to keep up with them and know what they are saying. And for me, I'm motivated by the TV shows as well, because I hate dubbing and I feel like you can't enjoy the show with dubbing. So I want to play with the original sound in English, for example, and that motivates me to answer the previous question too.
That's great.
One thing to add up to the movie thing that was just mentioned is that in every country there's a different approach. For example, if I compare Dutch TV shows and films in comparison to German ones that are international, so they are from like English spoken movies. In Germany, if I'm correct, Marie, like 80-90% is voice overed by German voiceovers. I don't know if that's called dubbing, right? Yeah, and in the Netherlands, it's just with subtitle in Dutch, and then you hear the actual language it was spoken in, like English, for example. And if it's a Spanish movie, then you see like them speaking Spanish and having Dutch subtitles. So, yeah, that was what I wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you. That's
I
good.
wanted that the other way around, and I found it really, really difficult because I spent a lot of my time learning Dutch. And I found it very, very difficult to use TV shows and films to teach me Dutch, because I discovered that the Dutch are the most non-native English speaking country in Europe, which was one of my main barriers. It was incredibly frustrating because I couldn't find anybody who spoke worse English than I spoke Dutch. And so we always, if I got matched up with somebody online so that we could both improve each other's languages, we'd always just end up speaking English because their English was always better than my Dutch. So I got good friends out of it, but I mean, I never actually got to use that to improve my Dutch in any way. I could never watch films. And I also know that if I had to go to the Netherlands to immerse myself in the culture and the language to better learn the language, nobody would bother because they speak such good English that there's no ways that they would want to bother trying to speak Dutch with me for more than a few different lines. So I think that I've still never been there. So I think that my Dutch is possibly as good as it's going to get without actually spending years living out in rural Netherlands somewhere. I think for me, that was a massive, massive barrier in me learning Dutch. I think that it's just become impossible for me to improve it more than I have. I've still never, I started learning at the age of 20, I'm nearly 27. I've still never found somebody that I can actually speak Dutch with and practice with them without them just wanting to revert to English. So very, very frustrating. And I think that that's probably the case with anybody who speaks English and wants to learn a different language, because my home language and my home language and in every country I've ever lived in, English has been the main language. And so it's just, people tend to speak better English than what you speak with that other language. I'm trying to learn French at the moment, same problem. It's just, yeah, it's very, very frustrating. I know that if I went to France, they wouldn't want to speak English, which is helpful. But yeah, for me, those have been massive, massive barriers, and it's just been very frustrating because I love learning languages because I think that it exposes you so much to the culture, and the way that they speak indicates what is important to the culture and how they think and what they value. And it's really, really beautiful. You can't immerse yourself and understand a culture until you've learned a bit of their language. And I think for me, that's been one of the major reasons why I've loved learning them. But yes, I've been very, very frustrated over the years because I speak English as my home language and can't get much further.
Thank you for that. That's really insightful. And actually, to build off of that, I was going to ask, because you're speaking about when two people speak different languages at different levels, there's always kind of like a winning language that takes over.
Always English.
So I was wondering, yeah, if any of you have ever had a moment of embarrassment when speaking a different language than your native language, like if you've messed up or if that's ever like affected your speaking after that.
Oh, okay. Decided not to do it.
Speaking French at school presentations. That was so embarrassing. Our like Dutch people generally speak English very well. And then when it comes down to German, if you live in the East, I live in the East, and you tend to be good at German as well, because a lot of dialects from Eastern, the Netherlands is similar to what German is. And when it comes down to French, that's a whole other world. The way they speak, the way their grammar is, like everything. So when it came down to school presentations at like the French course, everybody sucked basically. So it was even that bad that we even had like a full script of text that we can use during the presentation instead of like normally you just write down some keywords that you have to mention, but this was just a monologue of like a text you're reading. So yeah.
Did Roland, do you have anything to add about French in particular?
I mean, when it comes to like embarrassing moments, I feel like for me personally, it's not necessarily like something that I would say that I'd be embarrassed by. It's more like if I'm not strong in a language, I'm kind of embarrassed to like try to speak to someone in that language because I know like I can't really communicate effectively. So if it's not a language I'm like well versed in, then I always find it's a bit awkward. Like, you know, especially if the other person's stronger in another mutual language that you have, like, you know, you trying to speak that language like won't be very productive. So I don't know, French is different from other languages like Bart was saying, but I'm fluent, so I've never had any like issues with it personally. Yeah.
Okay.
I've actually not found the exact same issue. I think because it's already understood that I like suck at French, for example, I know I'm going to mess up and that's fine. But the thing that I've struggled with, I'll just laugh about it. But the thing that I struggled with was the fact that some stuff can't be directly translated. And if you do, you change the meaning completely. I was visiting my boyfriend's family at the time. He's French. It's the reason why I wanted to learn. And we were visiting the south of France in the summer, and it was like 35 plus constantly degrees. It was really, really hot. And so I'm trying to practice my French as much as I can. And I said, I'm really hot, but, and his mother was there. Turns out that I am hot. If you say it directly, if you translate it directly, it means I'm turned on. And I said that in front of his mother, and I'm really, really hoping that she understood that it wasn't, it was actually about the weather, it really wasn't about her son. So those are the things that I've really struggled with stuff like that, because there's so much that you just can't directly translate. And I think, yeah, that couldn't have gone worse. But his mom has a sense of humor, so I'm really hoping like.
That's brilliant.
Oh no, yeah.
Actually, my mom did something similar, like back in the day. She was learning Spanish, and she went and visited like basically like a church with and there were a bunch of nuns, and she was like learning Spanish at the time, and they were going to have lunch together, and they're like, my mom asked, oh, are you hungry? But she said it wrong, and she said tienes hombre instead of tienes hambre, which translates to do you have a man, instead of are you hungry. And she asked a bunch of nuns if they have a man. So
that's
yeah,
great.
it's things happen, but it's like you have to laugh about it.
That's great. Did anyone else have anything to say about this particularly?
Well, I have also an example in English. For example, in the Netherlands, we learn English at school, but that is very like general. But when it comes down to detailed words, but like words of products, for example, you use in everyday life, we don't know them all. So, for example, when I came to Kingston for that one semester, I did not know what the word cauliflower meant, but I did know that it had something to do with flour. So I basically said, well, I'm looking for a vegetable and I don't know the name at the moment, but it's something with flour. And then the person in the supermarket brought me to flour, which is used for baking, etc. So it was a bit weird in like England. So yeah.
That's good. What about Vanessa, Valentina, Alessandro?
Once I was in Ireland and I was looking for a gift for my father, and I went to the in the shop and I asked the one for the keys, the thing that is attached to keys, for example, to the keys of the car. I don't know the name in English. And I asked for this with the name Dad, but the man looked at me like Dad, because he understood Dad is dead, not Dad, my father. So it's like Dad. so sorry. But so here in Italy, the problem we have is, I think, with languages, is that in school or in books there is so much grammar and not a focus on pronunciation and speaking. So the problem that we Italians have, I think, generally speaking, is speaking, because we are a master in present perfect, past perfect, but we don't know how to. It's difficult for us to interact, and also Italian pronunciation is not.
If you all know.
Yes. So, if you want to say something, you man.
No, there cannot be embarrassing moment because
I'm embarrassed now.
I'm embarrassed now. Italians are famous about signs. So if you can talk, you can use a sign. So I want to walk on the sofa. Okay, I want to walk on this sofa. Okay, you can use signs. So
yeah, you can like gesticulate with your hands in Italian. Yeah, that's cool.
He studies also the Italian language of signs.
Duolingo has Italian language of signs, also British languages of signs. I'm interpreter.
Yeah, it has sign language in Duolingo. That's true.
The little picture, the little picture with the man or the woman that signs in different types of languages, and I'm interpreter. No.
Yes, not embarrassing moment.
No embarrassing moments. Okay.
No, not perfect. I'm abituato. I'm used to talk.
Yeah, I have similar story to this one. It's happened like 7 years ago in high school in a classroom. We had an English lesson and I was supposed to read a couple of sentences from textbook, and I didn't know much about English pronunciation back then. And in the sentence there was apple pie, and I saw the word like P-I-E, so I read it apple pie, and everybody started laughing, and I had like no idea what was going on. I was like quite angry that they're laughing at me, but nowadays I know I would have laughed with them.
Yeah, I feel like that's one thing as native speakers, that we're so used to hearing whatever language it is, but when you're a native speaker, you're so used to hearing the like correct pronunciation that I don't know, it's funny to hear like a different way. I guess it's just surprising. But yeah, even like I was like 17 and I'm like a native English speaker when I learned that like it's what's the word? It's not epiphany, epitome. And like they're just like hard words, and I feel like especially for languages like French as well, pronunciation is so important because there's like different accents and whatever that like, yeah, pronunciation is almost like a pride and joy that must be protected when like, you know, an accent doesn't really change the understanding usually.
That's true. Also in Italian, you have double letters. I don't know if it's the same in French or Spanish, but you have to put like an emphasis on it. And at the beginning, I just couldn't crack that at all. So I was saying the wrong words completely, but so I can relate on that one.
Yeah. So if you guys are learning languages on an app though, like what's the main thing that you consider when you're deciding to download an app? Is it like friends suggested it, or you saw reviews, or it just looks kind of good?
Well, for me, it is definitely a recommendation by experienced people. For example, when I was in England for 1 month, just studying English, there was this English teacher who recommended me the best dictionary. He said he was the best. It's called the Word Reference, and I'm still using it, and I have no hesitation in recommending it. I think it's the best one. So for me, it's definitely the recommendation of people who really understand the problem and who knows something about it.
For me, I think well, for something like Duolingo, it's just like so present in like the collective conscience. Like everyone knows what Duolingo is. So I think that's the first thing that people will gravitate towards. But then if it comes to like other apps, like you just mentioned Memrise, and I think I'm gonna download that now just because you like, you know, you spoke about it. So you spoke from experience on like that makes me want to download it. But to start off with, like, it's just whatever you know of in the first place. And I think friends' recommendations do help because that's someone who you can see, like, you can see right in front of you if it worked or not, you know?
Right, but then how does that contrast to like reading reviews on like the App Store or like online or something? Is it just like a question of trust because it's your friend, or?
I think so. And also, like, you know, everyone learns languages very differently. And so to be able to have like a conversation about the app instead of just like reading someone's like 2 sentences and going off on that, like there is a more like a sense of like safety in downloading it because you know what you're getting yourself into.
I agree with that because I think everybody looks for something different when everybody has different ways of learning. So I might be able to see a review about Memrise or Duolingo or HelloTalk, which I highly recommend, by the way. But it really doesn't, it just goes over my head because you might see a 5-star review where somebody's saying, oh, this really helped me learn, it was fantastic. But it might not be what I'm looking for when I'm learning a language. When I'm learning a language, I want to be able to learn different phrases that people say, so that when I'm sitting listening to the language being spoken, I can grab different bits and pieces of the information and try and piece things together. I was never able to do that with Duolingo because they speak so slowly as you go along when you're reading the sentence, and then you've got to piece the sentence together and translate it or whatever. It's just, you don't get practice with hearing it being spoken, whereas with Memrise, for me, I've never used it for Dutch, only ever used it for French. You'll learn stuff like t'inquiète pas or whatever. So, I mean, the words t'inquiète pas means, if you don't know, it means don't worry, I think, from what I can remember. I haven't practiced my French in a little while, admittedly. But when I'm sitting listening to, or of course, or whatever, so if I'm busy sitting listening to French being spoken, I now know at least the outline of that sort of conversation and try and have a good idea as to what's going on in that conversation, whether it's a positive conversation or whether something's happened or something like that. And I was never able to do that with Dutch when I was using Duolingo. I think that Duolingo is great, and I was always just so adamantly loyal to it. But I got my recommendation from my brother, who learns languages as well. And he was going on about Memrise for literally years. And I'm just like, oh, Mitch, come on, like it can't be that great. And I eventually just gave in. I started to try it, and I used it for a couple months, then spent like 10 days in France with my boyfriend's family. And I could understand so much more, and it was all because of Memrise, as opposed to just getting a good understanding of the base of the language from Duolingo. So it was my brother's recommendation and him explaining to me why and how it's helped him learn the language, as opposed to just reading a review online saying it's cool. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much. We just have a couple more questions that we can go through quickly. We've like learned so much already. I think Katie can agree. But how do you guys make enough time to learn a language? I think that's very interesting to me. Like,
I think sometimes you're doing it without realizing it, that you're doing it at that moment. For example, if you're watching a television show, which is English or not a language you don't necessarily speak in an everyday life situation. So, and also like you can have like courses at school. For example, I've had a course in business English where I learned like vocabulary, like words in business English, and etc. Yeah, and yeah, it depends on your education, I guess, but I am doing business administration in English, so all my books are English. Nowadays, I feel like people are also like reading English much more, at least in the Netherlands, as far as I know. But yeah.
yeah, anyone else?
Yeah, I think it is important if you like the language, because then it's easy for you to make time for it. For example, you know you have to do something, or you want to do something to school, and you can either do the math homework, or you can go like watch a TV show, how Bart said, and you still have a good feeling that you're learning foreign language. So if you like the language, then it's no problem for you to make the time for it. It's easier than other courses, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when you switch maybe your mobile phone to English settings or something, it's me, I do this with my phone, so everything is English. And some friends tell me, hey, how you can change your color of your phone, it's not white anymore, it's black. So, and I was like, yeah, I did this and this, but I only know it in English now, so I can't translate it in German anymore, because I'm so fixed with, or I'm so in English now. I'm thinking in English with my settings on my phone. So
yeah, same. I learned like weird things like email inbox. I didn't know the word for that, like things that you don't really think of to look up, but like it's useful to change your phone language, but you have to have like a basic level of understanding for that. And Katie, do you have like a question that you want to ask?
We were also wondering about whether does it make a difference if a language learning app is free? Would you rather download it? Would you think it's more beneficial, or does it draw you in more in general?
Everything, like not only money wise, but also like things that are comforting are way more easy to like, yeah, if you want to use that, it's way easier. For example, if it's free and also very easy, and like for example, if the layout of the app is very clear and like easy to go through, then it's way easier to use the app. If it's expensive and also like very complicated to like install the app, and also like, for example, if you're doing a survey, for example, and you ask people so many questions that it's not interesting for them to answer it anymore, then there's no point. And I feel like it's a bit of the same when it comes down to having an app about languages, for example, if it makes sense. You understand it?
Yeah. So those who have Duolingo downloaded, there's an option to pay for premium. What makes you want to pay that? What would make you have that drive to pay that extra I don't know how much it is. I think it's £5 or something.
Yeah, and on top of that, if you aren't willing, why not?
Yeah.
Or I guess it's kind of the two sides of the same question.
So I downloaded, or I subscribed to Duolingo Plus, and I was just supposed to use it for the week. And of course, I go and forget to cancel the subscription. And funny enough, I just got a notification to say it ended as we were calling now, like a year later, because it lasted for like a year. It was something like £70, and I couldn't get that money back. I was quite pissed. So it was very expensive. I was interested in using it because purely because it offered being able to download the language course offline, and I was about to get on a journey to go back to South Africa to go and visit, and the journey door to door was something like 26 hours. So, and you're not going to have cell phone signal for most of that journey, and so for me it was purely just the offline thing. So I was hoping to remember to cancel it when I got to South Africa, but I forgot to. Was a bit of an expensive mistake, but for me, if I had to go back and think about all the benefits of actually paying for Duolingo Plus, I probably wouldn't have, because Duolingo Plus just doesn't offer you, like, Duolingo itself offers you so much that it's just like you don't need much more than that. Like, I don't, in day-to-day life, I'm not going to need my Dutch course to be offline, for example. So yeah, I wouldn't go back. But if Duolingo if Duolingo offered you all of that, but you had to pay for it, I probably still would pay for it if it was decently priced, because I've been, maybe not recently, but because I've been a language learner quite long term now, and I acknowledge that learning a language and being able to speak fluently, it's a big commitment. So if it's something that I'm truly committed to doing, then yes, I absolutely will pay for it, because I don't want to do anything half-heartedly. And if it weighs up and it's going to be beneficial to my learning, then I will absolutely pay for it. Yeah, if it's decently priced, of course.
Joe, were you going to say something?
Yeah. So I've been using Duolingo for like a good amount of time now, and the only reason I'd ever consider paying for it, which is what I did at one point, was because I lost my streak, and you can repair your streak like completely once a month, which is great, because it was like 203 days or something ridiculous. So I did get the free trial version for a week, and I made sure to cancel it because it really wasn't adding that much value to the experience. There's the whole like heart system now where you get like 5 mistakes, which arguably almost like I'd say that kind of helps that you only have like limited amount of mistakes in the free one, whereas you get like unlimited in the paid one, because that just like it holds you more accountable, and you really have to focus more, instead of like if you've paid for it and you just use like making a bunch of mistakes and then there's no real repercussion. So yeah, but I'm still using the free one, and I'm completely fine with it.
Okay, thank you so much. If you guys have anything else to add, or any thoughts about language learning, you're welcome to stick around, but I don't want to really take much more of your time. But yeah, if you have any like insights on or tips or something that you've done outside of apps to learn a language that you thought really was a game changer. Otherwise, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I think Katie.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yes, no problem.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good
Have
luck
a
with
good
your
day.
project.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Devi uscire.
That was good.
I didn't want
Thank
to
you, Alice.
and also it was because when I made the thing, it was only 40 minutes, and then I got a message halfway through like, we made it longer, and I was like, okay.
That was good though.
Yeah.
That went well.
I took like 3 pages of notes.
Have you? That's great.
Cool.
Cool. Do you think it will just save automatically after the call, or?
Yeah, do you want to hang up and I can call you on WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
then this will, yeah.
Okay. Bye.